Cringe Lab, where we laugh.
Welcome, everyone. Ready for another deep dive? We're about to go through some interesting inventions this time. Inventions that never quite made it.
Should be fun. Where are we starting?
We've got excerpts from this piece about inventions that flopped some real head scratchers in here, let me tell you. Like, remember that feeling of nodding off midway through a good book?
Yeah, happens to the best of us.
Right. Well, picture this. 1887, this inventor, Archibald Thrumple, he comes up with the solution. But not a comfy blanket, no. He invents the vibrating reading chair.
Vibrating to stay awake. Okay.
You haven't heard the half of it. This chair, it had these early motion sensors, so if you started to slouch, like you do when you're drifting off.
I give you a little nudge.
Little nudge is an understatement. It would practically launch you out of your seat with these vibrations. And get this, it even had different settings, from gently awake all the way to book beater.
Book beater. Sounds a tad intense for a little snooze. Those Victorians were something else, weren't they?
Tell me about it. Always trying to solve everything with some elaborate contraption. Although when you think about it, old Archibald was kind of onto something. I mean, we rely on alarms now to jolt us awake, and those probably weren't so gentle in the early days either.
True. It's all about refining the approach. But what was the main reason this vibrating chair never took off?
Well, you can probably guess getting shaken like a martini isn't exactly conducive to a relaxing reading experience.
I can imagine.
There's this account from a Professor Mellors. He tried it out, purely for science, of course. And let's just say there were a lot of flying books and spilled tea involved. It's kind of hilarious, actually.
I bet. Poor Professor Mellors. But it does make you wonder.
About what?
Well, Thrumple was so focused on solving one problem, the drowsiness, that he forgot about the importance of comfort, the overall experience. It's something we still see today, even with all our technological advances. I mean, think about those early virtual reality headsets.
Oh, right.
Amazing technology, groundbreaking even. But so many people found them clunky and uncomfortable to wear. A good reminder that even the most ingenious invention needs to consider the human experience. It does. Makes you think twice about settling into a comfy chair with a good book, doesn't it?
Right. Although, speaking of comfy, this next one might have you floating away instead.
Floating. Oh, you've lost me.
Oh, yeah. This one's a real head-scratcher. We're jumping ahead to the 1930s. Meet Sir Neville Lofting and his claim to fame, the anti-gravity hat.
Anti-gravity hat. All right, now you have to tell me more. What was this guy thinking?
So Lofting, he was really interested in, intellectuals, people who spent a lot of time in deep thought. He had this theory that all that thinking, all that mental strain, it was like a literal weight on their minds. And his solution, lift the weight by lifting their heads, literally.
So he wasn't solving a physical problem so much as a conceptual one.
Exactly. Now, how was this hat supposed to defy gravity? Well, Lofting claimed it worked using a miniature anti-gravity generator built right in, ambitious to say the least. The idea was this generator would create lift, gently raising the wearer's head, taking all that mental baggage with it.
Hold on. A miniature anti-gravity generator. This sounds like something straight out of a science fiction comic book.
It really does, doesn't it? But you have to remember, this was a time when science, especially physics, was capturing everyone's imaginations. And gravity, this invisible force that held everything down, it's no wonder people were fascinated by it. Lofting, in his own eccentric way, he was trying to, conquer it.
I can only imagine what happened when people actually tried this anti-gravity hat on. Did it actually work?
Let's just say the results were less than elegant. Turns out early attempts at manipulating gravity were a bit, shall we say, unpredictable. Instead of a nice gentle lift, this hat would send its wearer on some pretty wild rides.
Starting to see a pattern here.
We've got a first-hand account from Dr. Emily Stratton. She's a physicist who actually tested a reconstructed version of the anti-gravity hat back in 2021. All in the name of science, of course.
Okay, I have to ask, what did that look like? A physicist in an anti-gravity hat.
So she puts on the hat, ordinary-looking thing, really, flips the switch, and at first she feels this weird lightness, like a gentle tug upwards. But then, oh boy, the hat really kicks in, and next thing you know, she's practically hanging onto her desk for dear life as this thing tries to pull her towards the ceiling.
And gentle was obviously not in Lofting's vocabulary either.
Nope, not at all. But wait, there's more. At some point, she accidentally hits the kill switch.
Oh no, what happened then?
Let's just say, Dr. Stratton and the ceiling, they became very, very well acquainted.
So much for serene intellectual contemplation. These inventors, they were ambitious, I'll give them that. But they did seem to overlook a few, shall we say, crucial design elements.
That they did. But, each one of these wacky inventions, they tell a story about the time they were dreamt up in.
That's a great point. Speaking of anxieties and inventions, I hear the next one tackles something a lot of us can relate to: stress eating.
Stress eating. Oh, this one hits close to home for probably everyone.
You said it. I'm all ears. What's next on our list of quirky inventions?
Get ready for this. We're diving into the fascinating world of cutlery.
Cutlery. Okay, now you have to spill the beans.
Fasten your seatbelts, because we're going back to the 1950s to meet the Hypno Spoon, the brainchild of one Dr. Gerald Mesmer.
Hypno Spoon. That's a new one. And who is this Dr. Mesmer? Some kind of culinary magician?
You could say that. He was a psychologist fascinated by hypnosis and believed he could use it to help people with their eating habits. Picture this. You're feeling stressed, sit down for a meal, and as you lift your spoon...
It starts hypnotizing me.
Not exactly a swirling vortex or anything, but this spoon was designed to emit rhythmic pulses and play these super subtle affirmations all while you were eating to put you in a calm state of mind.
Subliminal messages in your soup, eh? Sounds like a recipe for a very interesting dinner. Did it work?
Well, about those subliminal messages, let's just say Dr. Mesmer may have missed the mark on subtle. We came across a story from a guy named Michael who tested a modern replica. It started innocently enough. He felt relaxed while using this spoon.
Sounds about right. So far, so good.
And then things took a turn. Michael found himself staring at his soup for ages, totally out of it.
Sounds like a classic case of going into a trance.
Exactly. But it gets weirder. Michael started hearing those affirmations even when he wasn't using the spoon. It's like that Hypno Spoon had some serious attachment issues.
That's both hilarious and a little creepy, don't you think? It makes you think about our relationship with technology. We're quick to embrace any gadget or app that promises to improve our lives, but when do we draw the line? And what happens when our solutions create new problems, or maybe just weird ones in this case?
It's something to ponder for sure. It's easy to chuckle at these inventions, the vibrating reading chair, the anti-gravity hat, and now the Hypno Spoon. But they were all trying to solve real problems in their own way. They might have missed the mark, but they remind us that innovation isn't always about instant success. Sometimes it's about those bumps in the road, those hilarious missteps that teach us the most valuable lessons. So the next time you come across a new invention, something that promises to revolutionize your life, think of Archibald, Sir Neville, and good old Dr. Mesmer. Maybe approach it with a healthy dose of curiosity and a dash of skepticism. After all, you never know when you might be staring down the barrel of the next Hypno Spoon. Until next time, keep those thinking caps on. And who knows what we'll uncover together on our next deep dive.